Hello everybody, Dave from Erected, doing a quick video of a few things. A couple things that were rehoused. One, the enclosure was set up a few days ago and the animal was moved yesterday. The other one, the enclosure was set up yesterday and the little critter was moved yesterday. And something new. We got something new today. Well, it's exciting. Let's put it that way. First thing I want to go over is I just want some suggestions, and hear me out with this. If I can get my handy dandy poker. Okay, so you have this piece of wood, and I've had this piece of wood forever, and I've wanted to use it in something, and I just never could come up with something to use it in, and this enclosure was actually perfect for it. And you can see it just sits here in the front. This arm goes to the back, and then the top, I don't know how much you can see at the top, but the top is pretty much all the way up. You can see the little gap right there. So there is a little bit of gap between the lid and the very top of this thing. So my plan, I have twine that's a little bit thicker than these are. And what I want to do is coat them with the brown silicone that I have and roll them in cocoa fiber or the potting soil or the cocoa core. And I wanted to lay them, on these. So there'd be like a couple strands of them coming down in different patterns. So it looked like, those crazy, goofy, I don't even know what they're called, the tree vines, I guess, the brown vines that would go up trees to make them look, I don't know, not make them look different, but to have them just to give this a little bit more of a natural look. Because this is driftwood, and you can see it's completely flat and shiny, really. So I also wanted to take this part, drill some holes in right about here, and there, and then put some of the fake broadleaf plants that I have, wedge them in there, glue them in, and then what I wanted to do was to take some, not really sphagnum moss, not living moss, but like sheet moss or something, and get that on this whole entire piece, so it'll kind of come down, it would be cut in between the three pieces of plant to hide where they're drilled in, kind of cover that side up with that, and then have a couple of those vines, like I said, kind of hanging down from that. Now, what do I want to put in here? Well, what I want to put in here is it's not tiny, it's 2 inches, I would say, my avicularia morph type 6, or at least I believe it's a morph type 6. So I know a lot of people like to use cork bark rounds for the avicularias. I've never really had success. Only one of the avicularias that I ever had used a cork bark round. Some of them used, and it wasn't even a round, it was like a half hide, the half wood barks that you buy. I just put it up against the side of the enclosure, and he went down there, and that was the male avicularia morph type 6 that is now with the Salinas family. So none of my other ones really use them, but they did like to web up those leaves. So I thought if we kind of put the leaves at, this height here, and in that area, the leaves can come forward a little bit, that the tarantula will be able to use this to sit on. We get some really, really good shots of it on here, and it would web up here to make itself a tunnel, canopy, whatever the tarantula wants to do. And basically, it doesn't have a hide now. It's in a little vial, so I don't really believe that it's 100% necessary to give an avicularia a hide. And the reason why is because most often than not, now my Caribbean Versicolor used his, but most often than not, you see these guys in like Exoterras or the Bugariums or, tall, upright, hinge door display cases, and most of them are like in the corner, where there's actually no hide. The hide's on the other side, they're on the other side, and they just web a tube there, and that's where they live. So I want to use this idea and see how this one gets along. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and we are going to go over the 2 things that I rehoused yesterday, and the new thing that came in we're going to do last. So stay tuned for that. Trust me, you're going to like it. Okay, so the first thing that I rehoused yesterday, finally, after all this time, I finally rehoused my Opisthothalamus wahlbergi, the tribe-colored burrowing scorpion. I took the advice of a scorpion keeper and made a, I call it compound, but it's more of a formula here for substrate. And it's, the ratio is 3 parts sand, 1 part excavator clay, and 1 part cocoa fiber, which of course I use the Burpee's cocoa core because I'm infatuated with the stuff. So, and you could see here, I don't know if you guys can see the piece of bark that I put in there, and it burrowed right down right away. So I made this 2 days ago. I forgot to drill the holes. I drilled the holes yesterday, but I put the stuff in here, wet it, drenched it, you know, so the sand can filter that water down through the excavator clay, so it can harden up a little bit, and then give this guy some room to burrow. Now, if you look close, you can see the lighter colored stuff here. It's all around here. It goes all the way back there. That's all the stuff that the scorpion brought out of that burrow right there and moved up to here. This is the first time it burrowed in anything, and I think maybe, you know, its behavior has been off because I didn't really give it the right kind of setup. So now that it's in the right setup, we'll see how this puppy acts. It's not molted once in the year and 2 months that I've had it. I think I've watched it eat once, kill something or grab something, but it's probably eaten about 6 or 7 times overall. And that's only because I throw something in there and it's not there the next day or the day after. So I know it's eating, but it hasn't molted yet. So I'm kind of hoping that this dude will now molt this way. Now, this person told me just to spray down the sides of the enclosure every now and then for it to drink. So we're going to try that, but we're also going to throw a little dish in here just in case. Okay, so let's move on to the other rehouse that I did. Okay, so this one is another one that I've been meaning to do for a little while, especially when I first got these enclosures. And these are the ones that my brother got for me. So these are 4x4x7 tall. I really like them. They're perfect acrylic. The only thing that's bad about them is that the tops are real easy to take off. So if you have a strong tarantula, or as they grow, they could possibly pop that off. So I have to be careful with that. And it may come to the point where we have to put like a hinge on there, or 2, you know, maybe 1 on each side so that they can't lift them up. So what do you think is in here? So it's an arboreal setup. It's still a small tarantula, but you know, this is the plant that was in the enclosure with it. It was in a baseball cube, so it's got some big time room or dimension changes. You know, it went from a, what are they, 2.5 by 2.5 by 2.5, the baseball cubes, to 4x4x7. So it's got a pretty big increase, both vertically and horizontally. So the animal that's in it is back here. You're not going to be able to see very well, but it's webbed up this whole entire area here, and you can see the substrate has been pushed over to here. I did this completely straight. Everything was completely leveled and straight, and it's webbed up the whole entire thing, so it's hiding right now underneath. I'm sure it's burrowed down. This is the Stereopogopus species Hotty, which when I saw it in here, ventrally it looks female, but it is still small. So we'll have to watch how this one goes. I'm pretty confident in the ventral sexing of this one, just because of how well of a shot that I had. But being that it's only still like a, you know, 1.25 little over sling, it's kind of hard to say yes, that's definitely what it is. So we'll go with the suspected female. And most people, when they have them, even if they're unsexed, I always, you know, a lot of people say, can I just call them female? You call them whatever you want till they're not, you know, till they're determined otherwise. So it's kind of like the whole innocent till proven guilty thing. So we just say female until proven male. Yeah, so this is a mixture of sphagnum moss, crushed leaf litter, the Burpee's cocoa core, and some reptisoil. I didn't put vermiculite in because I used the reptisoil. I was just going to go with the Burpee's cocoa core and then throw some vermiculite in here. Oh, there is some sand in here too. I've been using more sand in the enclosures, especially for some of the species that need a little bit more moisture, because the sand will let the water drain down through. Vermiculite will hold water and release it, where the sand will let the water filter down. So if you put a layer of vermiculite down the bottom and you want to keep humidity going up through, that would be my advice, is to mix sand in with your substrate. So this mixture was probably, it was a handful of sphagnum moss, a handful of crushed leaves, probably 2 scoops of the Burpee's cocoa core, and then half a scoop of sand. Yeah, and that's really what we, oh yeah, and then of course a half scoop of the Reptisoil. That's why it looks so dark, because the Reptisoil is kind of prevalent. It's much darker than the other substrates, even though the cocoa core is pretty dark. But okay, so that's the 2 that I rehoused. Now let's get into the meat of everything. What's the new thing that came in? I'll show you. What do you think it is? I'll let you guess. I'll give you a couple minutes. Okay, so here is the new critter. This is from the Buthidae, or Buthidae family. Is a family of scorpions. This is the Hottentotta. Now, I'm still trying to learn stuff about parthenogenic. This is the parthenogenic species, but I do believe they still produce males. So, of course, a male is not going to produce young, as far as I understand. But I did read stuff before on parthenogenic that a female does not need to breed. It will have offspring, and the offspring will also carry the ability to breed, or have offspring as well without breeding. So if this is a female, now I'm just going to say, because I'm not 100% positive, if this is a female, this one will produce on its own, and then they will continue to reproduce, and she will continue to have babies like every 3 months or so. So if that's the case, there's going to be a ton of these in the Arachnids fold. I'm not quite sure if these are communal. I believe they are not. So I have a lot of time to learn a little bit more about these. I do have a couple scorpions. I am no scorpion expert by no means. My knowledge of scorpions is far less than tarantulas, and kind of hinders and borders on the same as, you know, like shrew spiders. I know enough to keep them, and I did research this one a little bit, but not a ton. But I went off of some pretty good people that I know, some information that they gave me, and of course the person that sent it to me also. So what did we do? I struggle with when I want to put it in, because I wasn't quite sure. I like to see them when they're here before I really definitively figure out what I want to put her in, and we'll put it in. And I had a couple things in mind, but in the end I decided to just go ahead and put it in this mini football display case, because this is going to be a display animal. It's going to be good for the channel, good for filming, and this should be a home for it for good. It shouldn't need anything more than this. They don't get super huge. I believe only right around the 3-inch mark, so they're not a beefy scorpion like some of the other ones are, like flat rock scorpions, or your emperor scorpions, or forest, you know, your Asian forest scorpions, things of that nature. These are pretty potent. They are between a 3 and a 3.5 on the out of 5, so 3 to 3.5 out of 5 on the scorpion venom list. So it's not anything I want to get stung by, because it probably wouldn't do me any good. I probably wouldn't do anybody any good. I'm not saying that it would kill you, but it probably would make you probably wish you were dead for a while. So yeah, so we need to get a name for this one, and I'll kind of pan you back a little bit, and you could just see the enclosure setup, and I'll tell you what I used. Now, we went with a flat rock. It's a little bit longer than I wanted to, but that's what I used, because he said you could use rocks, or you could use bark, or you could use both. And I have a ton of these rocks outside, so I decided I'm going to go with the rock with this one. They are from a very arid area. They do need water dish, so I have to get something put in there. I have a ton of Gatorade bottle caps, so that's probably what I'll use as a Gatorade bottle cap. But yeah, so with these guys, if you notice with scorpions, when they have big claws, and I do not know the scientific name or the biological name, I guess, or taxonomical name for their claws. I know what it is. I don't use it enough, so I couldn't even tell you the name. When those claws are big and thick, the venom potency is low. So if you take an Asian forest scorpion, an emperor scorpion, flat rock scorpion, they're generally going to be on a 1 to 1.5 scale out of 5 on the venom. But they have those big, huge pinchers that you don't want to get you don't want to get squeezed by those, because I'm sure that's going to hurt. I've been bit by many a crayfish, and that's not a pleasant experience. So I can't imagine it's much different with a scorpion. But with these guys, they have very, very thin and skinny claws, and they have huge tails, thick tails. I'm sure that is to deliver extra potent venom, and their telson, right, is where the stinger is thinner than what I've seen like on the other two scorpions that I have. Their stinger is a little bit thinner, so it's more of a thin hypodermic. It's going to go in real easy, real quick, and that's what they need to, overcome their prey. So they need that quick, potent venom to get into the whatever it is that they're trying to get to or kill and eat as quickly as possible. So it's been in here now for a couple hours, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to try and put a red runner in there, and then see if it'll take it. I'm not guaranteeing it will, because it's brand new in here, but who knows? I don't know if Dustin fed it or not recently, so we're going to give it a shot. If it doesn't eat, then we'll take it back out, and we'll try again in a couple days. Okay, not guaranteeing anything here, but I do have a freshly molted red runner, so we'll see if there's any interest whatsoever. That would lead me to believe no. We'll let it come back around and see. Again, it just took a long trip. I try to tend to feed my animals after they're shipped, unless they're really, really small. Then I'll wait a couple days. But with this guy, I expected maybe he would eat, but I'm not. My scorpions, for some odd reason, they come to me and they don't eat. But so again, we'll let this guy go by it one more time and see if he's got or she's got any interest in it. Not whatsoever. So we're going to get that bugger back out. We'll feed it to somebody else, and you guys can take a real quick look again at this guy. Oh, don't go underneath there. Yeah, it went underneath the rock. That's what I didn't want. This is not something that I'm going to put my hands in and work around. I don't want to threaten it. I don't want it to feel threatened so that it needs to strike out, because I don't want to be on the receiving end of that hypodermic needle on the end of its tail. So I'm going to have to watch for this little roach to come back out. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Not anything major. Well, I think this is kind of cool. I think these are called the alligator back scorpions, because you can see the patterning on the back kind of resembles an alligator, a crocodile. But yeah, so we have some interesting things. I want to show you guys one more thing before we go, and I've showed you this probably about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times in the last few months. I'm going to show it to you now and explain real quick what's going on. Okay, so this is where we're going to end this video, but this is my Chaetopelma olivacea. This is not a very popular tarantula in the hobby, not because they're not cool, because they really are. It's just that you don't see them very often. This was actually a gift or freebie that was sent to me by Tom Patterson, I don't know, 1.5 years ago, in a small little order I did with him. And I don't even remember what I ordered, to be honest with you. I just remember that I had paid him and it didn't go through, and I was like, well, I don't know why it went through, and he's like, well, me neither. So I checked it, and here the PayPal address that he gave me was, he misspelled his name. So I canceled it, did it right, and he's like, oh man, I feel stupid, sorry for the inconvenience, blah, blah, blah. Well, he sent me this thing as an add-on freebie in an order, and I can't remember what I got. I honestly can't remember. And he also sent me 2 Heteropodra lunulas that didn't make it. They only molted once and didn't live. They were tiny. But it was something else that he sent me. I just, honest to God, I don't remember. Oh, it was the Augustophilus isendami, the female, and Ruth has that one. And just for reference, my one that I got from Amy molted last week and is female, so I have another female back, which is cool. But anyway, if you remember, back when I had the Seriocosmus ori sac, I had her in the 5-gallon aquarium with the heat pad, and I had this one in there with her, because this is the way it looked all winter long, this abdomen size. This tarantula has not eaten since December. So it has continued to get bigger, and it needs to molt in the worst way. It's just refusing to do it. So it's just kind of odd, you know, because it is a old world species. Generally, they don't go this long without eating and this long in pre-molt. But you can see what happens with these is they go from a blackish to a, you know, off black to almost like a tannish gold when they're ready to molt. It's kind of cool. But I really wish this thing would molt, because I really want to put it in something new, depending on how big it gets, because this thing is fast as absolute lightning. And this is going to be something that's going to go into a mini football helmet display case probably for the next year and a half, depending on how big it gets after it molts. But I just wanted to show you how, you know, because a lot of people go on Facebook and they'll put a picture of their tarantula that is huge, okay, like this one. And the first thing out of everybody's mouth is, oh my God, stop feeding it, you're overfeeding it, blah, blah, blah. When a lot of times it's not even that case. It's a case that they're in deep pre-molt and they're just huge this way. And this is a perfect example of that. And this, again, this was not been fed since December. I've tried feeding it, don't get me wrong. It wasn't quite this big in December, but as the months have gone on, it's gotten bigger. And every day I wake up, I keep saying, please, please molt. Please be a molted last night. Just please, please molt. And it just refuses to do it. So we'll keep our eye out and see what happens with this one. And hopefully sometime in the next century, it will molt and we'll be able to find out if it's a male or female. Although either way, I don't know it's going to make a difference, because again, you don't see these very often, so it's going to be hard to find one or the other. You know, either it can be sent out as a breeding loan, or I could find a male to breed with it. Odds are that this one will probably stick with me as much as the Holothele longipes is. I cannot find anybody that has a female of that tarantula to send him off to breed. So yeah, so that's where we're at. So again, stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Don't forget to hit that bell up top. Now that Hot and Tot is going crazy, so I got to get that roach out of there. And we'll see everybody soon. Bye-bye.